What's up, guys? My name is Tai Zen. Welcome to the cryptocurrency.market channel. This is a trading, investing, and entrepreneurship channel. Many of you guys have been following me, following me for a long time now, for many years. And one of the common questions that I get all the time is, how did I start off in a very poor family and poor environment, and how did I come to America as a Vietnamese refugee and grow up in the ghettos, grow up in the neighborhoods, and hang around with the wrong people, and ended up in federal prison for drug charges. And I had to spend almost 14 years of my life in federal prison in America. And I came out, I went in when I was a teenager at 18 years old. I came out when I was in my mid-30s. And how did I end up retiring as a millionaire by the time I was in my mid-40s? And one of the key components to my wealth and success in life came from the type of friends that I surrounded myself with. When I was growing up in the ghettos, in the poor neighborhoods in America, in Southeast Texas, right? I did not know, my family was very poor. They were very uneducated. We came from a very small fishing village in Vietnam. So no one in my family knew how to network with wealthy people. They did not know how to network with talented people. They did not know how to network with people that, travel the globe and understand about money. So my parents, nobody in my family knew about any of that stuff, okay? And that was one of the reasons why it was so difficult for me to become wealthy and when I was growing up in America, because no one in our family knew it, and no one in our family had money, and no one in our family had education, no one in our family had experience to share with me of how to become wealthy in America or in the world in general, okay? So it wasn't until I went to federal prison when I was a teenager at 18 years old, and when I went in there, right, I quickly realized that all the stuff that I learned in high school did not work, okay? I dropped out of high school in the 11th grade, so I never finished the 11th grade, okay? So I finished the 11th grade. That was my last year in high school. And what happened was, all the stuff that I learned in high school, when I went out into the real world, it was not the same, Like in high school, people, I was taught by the school system in America that, hey, you gotta learn how to save money. Out in the real world, I never saw anybody that saved money become millionaires. In school, they taught me that, hey, do not judge people. But out in the real world, wherever I went, girls would judge who I am. Business people would judge who I am. Other entrepreneurs would judge who I am before they wanted to become my friends or get to know me. So in school, they taught me that if you smoke weed or marijuana, you would die, And out in the real world, I saw people smoking weed every day, right? And I saw the same people smoking weed every day. I saw people shooting heroin every day. I saw people smoking crack every day, and nobody was dying, okay? So it really disappointed me because I had spent so much of my time in school learning all this stuff, but then out in the real world, right, over here, the reality was much different. So in this video, I want to focus on one specific topic about making friends with the right people. And I didn't learn this until I went to federal prison, and it was the first time that I was put in an environment. I did time in like 6 or 7 federal prisons in America, and each one had anywhere between 1,800 to 2,000 prisoners from all over the world. And that was the first time that I got exposure to people of different wealth status, because in my poor neighborhood in the ghetto, in the black neighborhood that I live in, everyone was poor. So I never met anyone that was rich. Most of the people that was in my neighborhood were pretty much dumb and uneducated. So when I went to prison, out of the 2,000 prisoners that was in the prison, I would meet people that were very educated, people that were very rich, people that had traveled all over the world, and I had met international people for the first time, okay, and millionaires for the first time. Hey guys, you guys go into the room so I can finish shooting this video right now. So these are the things that I learned when I was locked up in the federal prison in America. And I want to share it with you guys because if you guys apply some of these principles out in the real world, it will help you achieve life-changing profits much sooner and quicker, okay? So behind me here on the whiteboard, I have a compass like diagram of, you know, northeast, southwest, and just a bunch of arrows, right? And I want to share with you guys some things, 7 different things that will help you guys choose the right friends and the right people to surround yourself with, okay? In school, they tell you that if you get a better education and you get a college degree and things like that, it really helps you in life to make money, right? I don't see very much evidence of that. I see more evidence that if you know the right people and you connect with the right people and make friends with the right people, that will help you become wealthier sooner, okay, and much faster. And I've seen lots of evidence of that versus having a college degree and then being able to make a bunch of money. And I'm not talking about like making like a 6-figure income or a decent salary. Okay, I'm talking about becoming like a millionaire, okay? And this is the method that I think works better than just flaunting a college degree or telling people what college you graduated from, okay? So let's start with number 1, okay? So out in society, we have the very rich people up here, the very poor people down here, okay? And hey guys, can you guys close the door, guys? All right, if I have to ask you guys again, we're not gonna go shopping today, all right? Okay, just close the door, guys. Right? So out in society, when I grew up poor, I only hung around the poor people. And then usually the rich people, they grow up rich, they only hang around rich people. And I saw that this was a big mistake in prison, okay? Because the poor people remained poor because when they got to prison, they only hung around with, they surround themselves with other poor prisoners. And then the rich people, when they got to prison, they only surrounded themselves with the rich people. And that, I saw a big problem arise. For one, the people that were rich, they didn't know how to interact and behave around people that were poor, and they would usually get their ass whipped by the people that were down here. It was rare in prison for someone up here to whip somebody's ass down here. But it was very common for someone down here in the poor class to, you know, kick somebody's ass up here in the rich class, right? And I noticed that there was a separation, and I saw that the people that were doing very well in prison, right, was able to move between the wealthy prisoners and the poor prisoners. And they had this ability to go and talk to these people, negotiate with them, become their friends, get to know them, earn their trust, and then turn around and come down here and be very flexible. And I saw that, and I said, hey, you know what? When I came in there, I only hung around poor people because I grew up in a poor neighborhood in the ghettos in America, and I didn't know too many rich people. So in my mind, I didn't know how to interact with rich people, right? But what that taught me was that the prisoners who could socialize and interact with the rich prisoners had an easier and better life in prison. So I started to learn how to do that. I started to hang around with some of these people, get to know how they talk, get to know how they spend their money in prison, get to know what things they did that got them there. Most of these people in here were for tax evasion or embezzlement. And then for the people that do not speak English as their primary language, tax evasion means that you make money and then you're not paying taxes to the government, right, correctly, or you try to cheat the government out of the taxes that you owe them. And embezzlement means that you are taking money from the company and you're doing it illegally, okay? It could be the company that you own, or it could be the company that you work for someone else. You're stealing money out of that company or that organization that you work for. And so these people would be here for tax evasion and embezzlement, and the guys down here would be in prison for most of the time, almost all the time, it was for drugs, okay? So that was the category I fell in, right? So I was able to notice that as I got to learn how to interact with the rich people and the poor people in prison, it transformed my life because I was not suffering some of the physical violence that these people had to endure from these people, but then I also didn't have to deal with some of the poor living conditions that these prisoners went through. Okay, so I realized that you don't want to go to either ends of the extremes. You want to be able to interact with both groups of people in prison. And then when I got out in my mid-30s, right, I realized that it was the same out in the real world. Okay, that the people that can, the individuals that can interact with the high levels of society, the rich people in society and the poor people, those are the ones that seem to do become the wealthiest. Okay, now the second thing that I want to talk about is education. Okay, in the prison, we had people that were very, very educated. Okay, we had people that were not so educated, the low education people and the high education people, right? Some of these people, they don't even know how to read and write. Okay, some of these people had PhDs and master's degrees. Okay, and so what I found out also was that these people could only interact with these people. And these people that had little education can only interact with these people. And what I realized is that I noticed that the prisoners who were able to interact with both of those groups of people, okay, were the ones that had the best life in prison. So I wanted a better life for myself in prison. So obviously I copied and did what those people were doing. And one of the things that I learned was that early on when I was in there, in the American prison systems, okay, they have a large number of Hispanic and Latino prisoners. Okay, it's usually black prisoners were the majority, and then the second group was the Hispanics, and then the third group would be something like the whites. Okay, so I noticed that there was a lot of Hispanic prisoners, and they spoke Spanish. So when I started learning how to speak Spanish in my first year when I came into prison, to federal prison, right, I noticed that it really opened my eyes. Like, more people trusted me, more people became my friends, more people wanted to help me. And not only the low education people, right, but I noticed that the higher education people respected the fact that I spoke Spanish. Okay, hey guys, close the door. Okay, how many times I gotta ask you guys? Right? And I noticed that I was able to win more friends and get more people attracted to me that want to become my friends, just because they saw that even though I came from a poor society, the fact that I took the time out to learn Spanish, okay, it allowed me to be able to communicate with them, and they started to like me and wanted to help me out. Okay, now keep in mind this too, guys, I had no college degree or nothing. Okay, so I came in there as an 18-year-old teenager into federal prison, and because of my efforts and my desire to learn how to speak Spanish, even though I was not a native Spanish, or I'm not Latino, I'm not Hispanic, okay, that won the respect of the educated Colombians, Mexicans, and all those, okay, and then even the poor migrant workers and the people that cross the border for migrant work, you know, they respected the fact that I was able to communicate with them, and they were not able to communicate to me in Vietnamese, which is my native language, but I was able to communicate to them in their native language. So just that alone really helped me out a lot. I remember when I was transferred to the federal prison on the East Coast near New York, in the state of Connecticut. Okay, at that time, the lady named Leona Helmsley. She's the owner or one of the shareholders in the Empire State Building in the city of New York, which at that time was one of the tallest buildings in the world. At that time, she was in prison also, at the same prison I was at, except she was on the female side and I was on the male side, and she was in there for tax evasion. Okay, and I remember when I went there, there was a huge Chinese community, and I did not know any Chinese, but just the fact that I was willing to make an effort to learn how to just say simple words in Chinese, that connected me with the Chinese people there that had a low education, and it also won me some friends from the Chinese that were college educated. The fact that I'm not Chinese and I took the time to learn their language and to get to be educated, right? They respect that. So I was able to win both sides. So I believe that it's very important to be able to socialize and connect with the people that have a low education level and be able to talk, emotional and just fun stuff with them, but also at the same time be able to connect with the higher educated people in society, where you can talk logic and reasoning and theoretical and abstract concepts with them. Okay, that helps out tremendously. Okay, the third key to networking and making friends with the right people is time. And obviously, if I was in prison for nearly 14 years, I am I might not be the expert in trading, but I can promise you that I'm an expert in doing time, because I did almost 14 years of it in an American federal prison. Okay, in this aspect of time, I'm going to go from here to here. We're born here, we die over here, we start school here, we finish school over here. We meet a girl here, we get married later on down here. We meet the girl here, marry here, and then start a family, have kids and stuff by the time over here. So this axis here represents time, okay? This horizontal axis. And there's two types of time that I want to share with you guys, all right? The first type of time is the experience. That it's important that whenever we learn something, right, that we learn it from someone that has experience in that. For example, since this is a trading, investing, and entrepreneurship channel, one of the things that I highly recommend is that if you are looking to become a quality trader, a quality investor, or a quality entrepreneur, I highly recommend that you learn it from people that have actually done it and have a lot of experience in it. Okay, I do not recommend wasting time learning from people that has not shown that they have not evidenced that they're able to do that successfully. Okay, so for example, right, when I first learned how to trade, I learned from a lot of theoretical traders, meaning that they know all the words, they know all the vocabulary, they know all the terminology, but when it came to actually trading out in the real world and managing trades and taking profits and buying when the market crashes and selling when the market's running up and stuff like that, it was extremely difficult for these traders to do that. And because they could not do it, they can talk about it in theory, but they could not do it in reality. It made it extremely difficult for me to learn from them, because some of the stuff that they tell me they would do when the market's going up, it was not realistic. That's not what a real trader or a real investor would do. And then likewise, when the market was crashing, they would talk about all this stuff, do all this technical analysis and share all this stuff, and it sounds magnificently beautiful and gorgeous, okay? On video, on charts, they all seem great. However, they could not actually do it out in the real world with their own money, okay? So it wasn't until I started running into some really good American traders that taught me how to trade that I learned from them in the stock market, in the Forex market, in the commodities market. And it was a big breakthrough for me to learn from guys that actually traded for a living. Like, I can see them making that money. I can see them selling when the market's running up. I can see them scaling into a position. The scaling in means that they're adding more and more and more into a position as the market's running up. And then selling out when the market's running up, and I can see them scaling in or buying a little bit at a time as the market's crashing, so they can add to their position. Okay, and these things really open my eyes on how trading is done in reality versus in theory. Most of the traders that you guys run into in the stocks, in the Forex, in the commodities world, in the traditional markets, and now even in the cryptocurrency market, the majority of the people that you guys see online are what I call theoretical traders, right? How do I know that? Because some of the things that they talk about, it just doesn't make sense when you yourself have done it in real life. Okay, if you've had to sell $1 million worth of crypto, you would know in real life that that is a very difficult thing to do, and that's not like the best way to do it, because you would lose a lot of money called slippage. You would lose a lot of it in that process. So when I hear these guys talk about how they buy or they sell crypto, the method in which they do it will indicate to me the experience level that they have. And some of them, I just outright ask them when I meet them at the conference and stuff, hey man, you're talking all this stuff online, man. You know, like how do you buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin offline? Like in reality, how do you sell $1 million worth of Bitcoins? And then just their response alone lets me know if they really do it or not. Some of them just outright just tell me that they don't do it, okay? So, hey guys, go into your room and close the door. Okay? All right, so this is important. Everyone starts over here, guys. Like when I started learning how to trade, I started over here from nothing, and it wasn't until like today that I have more experience. usually whenever you guys learn from trading or investing or anything like that, I highly recommend that you learn it from the group of people that's on this side that has already done it, has more experience in the market, all right? Instead of wasting time learning it from the people that's over here. One of the ways that I can tell when someone's actually learned it for real or not, that actually knows trading or not, is I always ask them what they were doing before they got into crypto. Okay, so if somebody comes into crypto and they tell me they know how to trade or invest in crypto, and that was the first asset class that they learned how to trade, I'm not going to believe that. Okay, just so you guys know, I'm not going to believe that that person actually knows trading or investing. They got lucky, they made some money, I agree with that. But as far as knowing how to trade and make a consistent profit and make a living off of trading, I'm not going to believe that. The reason why is because, for one, in America, if you are not at least 18 years old or older, you cannot open up an account. So if you're a teenager, like a 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old, telling me that you know how to trade, more than likely I'm not going to believe that. Okay? And then if you tell me that you've never lost an account multiple times before you learn how to trade as a 20-year-old or a 22-year-old, I'm not going to believe that either. The likelihood of that happening is so rare that I'm not even going to waste time even trying to believe that. Okay? So you have to be over 18 years old to open up a trading account to trade stocks, futures, forex, or any of that in America. So if you just jump out into the cryptocurrency market and you say you know how to trade and you're only 20 years old or 22 years old, my first question would be, hey man, like, what did you trade before the cryptocurrency market came along? Right? And if you can't tell me that you were trading forex or futures or options or commodities or oil or gold or stocks or bonds or something, then I'm not going to believe that you have real trading skills. That's just, to me, you just got lucky that you made some money in a few ICOs in crypto. Okay? So always learn from the people that have experience. The other thing that I want to talk about is time towards a goal. Okay? So what happened was, one of the reasons why it took me so long to learn how to become a consistently profitable trader, because I was learning from people that were not working towards their goal. Okay, so when I got out of prison in my mid-30s, right, I was learning from people that said they wanted to make money from trading. They said they wanted to make money from real estate. They wanted to become an entrepreneur and become a millionaire and all these things. And I learned from all these people. And what happened was, they said it with their mouth, but they were not actually doing it. Okay, they were not actually doing it. You know, and these guys, at that time, I did not have enough experience in making money to differentiate between that, okay, these guys talk, but they actually do it. And these guys that talk, they actually don't do anything. They just spit out the verbiage, the vocabulary, and the terminology, and it sounds real pleasing to to the human ear, and it sounds like, hey man, these guys really know what they're talking about, but the reality is they actually don't do anything. They're not working towards their goal. On the weekends, they would spend time watching soccer, they would spend time watching football, they would spend time watching basketball, they would spend time watching music videos, they would spend time listening to gossip and news and all that other crap, and fill up their head with crap, and they were good at regurgitating business terminology, trading terminology, investing terminology, but the reality is they were not putting any time towards their goal, meaning that they actually took charts, reviewed it, studied it, put in trades, logged in their trades, analyzed their trade log to see where they were making the mistakes and how they can improve, you know, talking to other traders, going to conferences, going to classes, you know, studying courses to how to improve their trading. They were not doing any of that. When you meet them at work, they would talk about how they want to become millionaires, and then during their free time, they would drink beer, smoke weed to get high, and go hang out with their buddies and go chase girls. They never actually put any time towards a goal. So one of the keys to making life-changing profits and life-changing finance is to make sure that we look for friends and connect with people that actually put time in towards their goal. Okay, whatever their goal is, if they want to become a badass artist, hey, if they're sitting there painting for 10 hours a day, more than likely that guy is going to have a better chance of becoming a badass artist than a guy that sits there on the couch and plays video games. Okay, so nothing wrong with that. If you want to play video games, then be good at video games, then go with that. But if you want to make money and make life-changing money, then you want to follow the guys and make friends with the people that are working towards their goal of making life-changing money. Okay. Number 4 here is different goals. So we got these arrows here. They're going in all different directions, okay? it's also important to connect with friends and people, right, that have different goals, right? They have different goals. Like, I have always, since I was young, wanted to become a multi-millionaire. I never wanted to be poor. I am an expert at being poor because I spent the majority of my life, okay, being poor. Living in the ghettos, living in the refugee camps. My family was poor. I grew up poor. My brother and I had to fight each other. Every time my parents bought a banana, every time we got a mango, every time we got a coconut, every time we got a can of Coke, a can of Pepsi, it was always me and my older brother fighting over it, okay? I don't remember growing up and being able to drink a whole can of Coke by myself. I don't remember being able to eat an entire mango by myself. I would always have to fight with my older brother and my other siblings to get the biggest piece, to get the biggest chunk. It was always a battle just to get food, okay, in our family, all right? So each of us has different goals. Because I went through those poor living conditions, growing up in the refugee camps, growing up in the ghettos of America, right? I have always wanted to become wealthy and rich. I did not want to grow up and have to worry about food. You know, one of the things that is a great pleasure to me today is that I can go out and just buy whatever food I want, and that it never crosses my mind like I have to split this mango with someone else or I have to split this coconut with someone else. I don't have to worry about that. Matter of fact, I'm in a position to where if I see a kid or somebody else want to eat the mango, I can just buy them one for themselves. I can buy them a coconut. I can buy them a can of soda. I wouldn't buy them a can of soda, actually, because I don't like giving people a can worth of chemicals and preservatives and artificial sugars, okay? So that you're probably not going to see me buy. But, you know, coconuts, fruit, vegetables, and food and things like that, I don't mind buying it for other people, okay? And I actually get a great enjoyment out of the fact that I know that I'm in a financial situation now to where not only can I afford to buy a whole mango for myself, but for each of my kids, my wife, my family, and still have enough money to buy it for other people if I choose to do it, okay? So each of us has different goals. I know that when I grew up, I had friends that just wanted to be able to have a wife and kids, and that was enough for them. Their goal was never to become a multi-millionaire or become an entrepreneur or any of that, okay? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? Just make sure that you have friends that have different goals. The reason why I don't want all my friends to want to become multi-millionaires is not because I'm afraid that they're going to make all the money and I cannot make it. It's just that when people have different goals, they have a different view on life and they have a different opinion on life and they see the world in a different way. I cannot see all the angles of the world, okay? Because of my background and my education level. So I need other people to be able to see different aspects of life, see different ways to solve a problem, see different solutions that I might not have thought of or might have considered, okay? The easiest way for me to explain this is, you guys remember that movie, The Predator, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, okay? You guys remember in the movie The Predator, you know, these are aliens from outer space that come down to Earth to hunt humans and other animals and stuff. They're hunters, and that's all they do is go around to different planets around the galaxy and hunt. And one of the planets is Earth, and when they come here, one of the technologies they have is that the mask that they have on, they can switch and see different wavelengths of light. So they can see the visible light that we see with colors and everything, and then they can see in X-ray vision, they can see you know, through the muscles and everything and see what our bones look like. And then if they switch their mask again, their goggles, they can see the infrared where they can see heat coming off our bodies. So it's hard to hide from them, okay? So the ability for these predators, these hunters, these alien hunters in the movie to be able to see different wavelengths of light and be able to see different perspectives of the world around them, whether it was in the visible light spectrum, the microwave spectrum, or the X-ray spectrum, or the any of the other infrared spectrum, it gave them a huge advantage in life, okay? So this is the same way here. This is the same way here, is that by having friends around you that have different goals and different desires and different dreams in life, what it does is it allows you to be able to access a network of people that see the world different than how you see it, okay? The next thing is number 5 is different ethics, okay? So some people, they have very low ethics, you know? They rob, they steal, they cheat, they lie, they scam people, they defraud people, everything that they can do, right? So they have no morals, no ethics. But then there are other people that have high morals, high ethics, and they don't want to do anything wrong, okay? Now, I have personally been at both ends of the spectrum. When I was dead poor, right, and desperate, there's a saying that desperate times calls for desperate measures. So when I was desperate and I was hungry and I was poor growing up in the ghettos, I did a lot of stuff that I'm not very happy with. I went around, I fought people, I stole their bicycles, I stole their car stereos, I shot people, people shot at me, right? So there's all kinds of things that I did that I am not too happy about and I wish I never had to do, right? But sometimes when you're hungry and you're desperate to get food and pay the bills and stuff, there's a lot of things, and most of all, you hang around the wrong people, you can do a lot of stupid things that you later regret, okay? So I would avoid, right, the Thai Zen that was a teenager here, because the Thai Zen that was a teenager here did not have the morals and the ethics that I would want to be around with. But then as I learned when I was in prison, I had a Catholic priest, help me to grow up and open my eyes and do things the right way, okay? And so because of his help and many other men who helped me when I was there, I was able to develop my morals and my ethics to a higher standard, to a higher level. So I would be happy to hang around with the Thai Zen today. I would not want to hang around with the Thai Zen that was a teenager back here, okay? So those are something. Now, morals and ethics, this is extremely important, guys, because when I was growing up in the ghetto and I was selling drugs and things like that, and I was hustling drugs to make $1, right? I was never happy about what I did. I was never happy, okay? Hey, you guys, go into the room. Right now. I was never happy about what I did. I was never happy about my actions. I was never happy about the people that I surrounded myself with. And one thing that taught me when I was in prison, okay, was when I went there, because I surrounded myself with people of low ethics and low morality, when I went to prison, they were all gone. I was left alone. I was left alone to rot and die in prison. I had to make new friends, right, in an environment that was very dangerous, that was very violent, and that's why they call it the school of hard knocks, because if you make friends with the wrong people, you're gonna get knocked in the head. And for the people that don't speak English as their primary language, getting knocked in the head means that someone punches or kicks you in the face, okay, and it hurts. You get a broken nose, you get a broken lip, you get a broken tooth, things like that, right? So what happens is, when I was here, right, I don't like that. I don't like that. I did not have someone teach me how to make friends with the right people, like I'm sharing with you guys in this video. So because of that, it was by trial and error. I would make friends with somebody, they happen to be low ethics, right, and I would pay the price for it. I make friends with people like the Catholic priest who helped me grow up in prison, and he had higher ethics, so that helped me to grow in a positive way. And then I realized that the more time I spent with the people of higher ethics and higher morals, then I tended to become a person of higher ethics and higher morals. And I also became more of a positive person, the type of person that I would want my kids to see me as, and my wife and my family and my friends to see me as a person that they would respect, okay, and love. The person that was down here that I was as a teenager was a piece of garbage, okay? And I would not want to be around that person, okay? Because they didn't have the ethics. It would do whatever it would take to make $1, okay? Unethically, immorally, it didn't matter, okay? So be careful about that, because for example, many of you guys know that recently I made a video where I blasted the guys from the Magical Crypto guys, right? To me, the way that these guys talk about, calling all these altcoins a shitcoin, calling the Ethereum network, a piece of garbage blockchain, and then criticizing it, and then turn around and then all 4 of them push 1.4 million US into the INX token ICO that's built on top of the very network that they've been criticizing. To me, that's low ethics. To me, that's very low ethics. And to me, because of my experience in life, it's very easy for me to say no to that. It's very easy for me to call him out as a piece of shit hypocrite. And many people ask me, hey, how can you say that about them? Because I've made the mistakes of being around and supporting and endorsing and following people of low ethics before, and it has not been beneficial to me. It has never turned out to be a good thing. So that's the reason why I did that. Okay, and I made the decision not to support their cause, not to believe in what they say, and to let my followers know that be careful about these people because their ethics are, in my opinion, very low. Okay, it's also number 6 here is to connect with people of different regions. I got the arrows going all different ways, right? When I grew up in Southeast Texas, right, in the state of Texas in America, it's one of the largest states in America and one of the most financially prosperous states in America. I grew up there most of the time during my 40 years living in America before I came back and relocated to Vietnam. One of the things was that I interacted with all the people from Texas, and the people from Texas are referred to as Texans. Okay, I hung around Texans. I talk like a Texan. I eat food like a Texan. I dress. The culture I have from America is mostly Texas in nature. So when I went to Wall Street to learn how to trade and learn how to be an entrepreneur, learn how to be a good trader and be a good investor and things like that, right? It was very shocking to me when I went to the East Coast because they had a different idea, they had a different mindset than I did from the people down in Texas, right, where I come from. And then when I went out to the West Coast to California to work out in Los Angeles and San Diego and other parts of Southern California, I started to realize that it really opened my eyes because each part, even though America is one country, if you live in the East Coast, the West Coast, the North, the South areas, it's almost like living in a different country, but you still speak a fairly common language because the ideologies, the thought process were completely different. When I went to New York City, right, talking about becoming a millionaire was not a big deal. There was so much money in New York City on Wall Street that for you to say that you want to become a multimillionaire, it's actually really hard to find somebody to even criticize you about that. Like I noticed that when I mentioned that was like saying I wanted to make $10 in New York City on Wall Street. Okay, when I go out to California, everybody wants to be famous, everybody wants to be a celebrity, everybody wants to be, a superstar, right? So if I go out there and I tell people that, I shouldn't say that everybody wants to be a superstar. It's very common for a lot of people to want to become famous or become a celebrity or become well known in the world. And if I go out there and say that I want 100,000 people following me or 1 million people following me, or I want to become a superstar or make a movie about my life or any of that stuff, it was not a big deal. It was not a big deal. Okay. Now, on the other side of the coin, if I went to New York City and said I wanted to own 100 acres of land or 20 acres of land and just have a ranch, that would be very difficult. People would look at you very crazy because where are you going to find 20 acres of land on Wall Street or in New York City or in Manhattan or Brooklyn or any of those places, right? But in Texas, that was very common. Like if you wanted 20 acres, right, 30 acres, 50 acres, 100 acres of land, right, that was very common. If you wanted to say, hey, I want to live out in the countryside, have 100 acres, have some horses, have some cattle, have some chickens, have some pigs, have some goats on your land, nobody thinks you're crazy. Like, okay, no big deal, right? If you said that your family has 500 acres of land or 1,000 hectares of land or 1,000 acres of land, and you got 50 oil wells or oil rigs drilling for oil or drilling for natural gas on your land, that's not unusual in the state of Texas. I mean, that's common, right? For the people that live outside the metropolitan areas to have that type of land and that type of oil well or that type of natural gas well on their land. So that's not uncommon. If you say that in other parts of America, that would seem very uncommon to them, okay? So just being able to communicate and talk to different people of different regions. And speaking of talking, it's also important that one of the ways that I found that you can connect really well with people from these different parts from the East Coast to the West Coast to the North to the South is that people talk with different accents, different slangs, different tones when they talk, right? So, for example, on the East Coast, when I went out there to New York, to Boston, around that area, right, I noticed that there was more like the letter R in English, like it was not as prominently pronounced like we pronounce it in the South or in the West. So in an area like Boston, where people say that, you know, my car is parked in front of my apartment, right? You know, they would not pronounce the letter R and say that my car is parked in front of my apartment, right? Now, my car is parked in front of my apartment versus my car is parked in front of my apartment, right? Just that little nuance in the language was enough to create relationships with that people in that region, right? So one of the things that I found out when I learned Spanish was that the Mexican Spanish was slightly different from the Colombian Spanish, right? And within the Mexican Spanish that I learned, the ones that the Spanish that's spoken near the border between Mexico and America was completely different than the Spanish that was spoken in Mexico City or in the federal district in where the federal government is seated in Mexico. So just by speaking, using words and using vocabulary and using accents that were slightly different and intonations, right? That was enough for me to connect with people at the border and then when I meet the people that came from the federal district or from Mexico City in Mexico, and I spoke to them in their dialect and their accent, that right there alone created a powerful connection and attraction mechanism towards those people, simply because they saw that I was taking the time to learn their accents and their tones and things like that, and the vocabulary they use, right? And the same way with something as simple as like when I talked to guys from Colombia, right? The word caliche in Spanish just means gravel or pavement, the stuff that's on top of the highways, on the road, the gravel, right? And in Mexico, caliche just means that, the pavement or the gravel. And whereas in Colombia, that is a term that means toughness. So if you want to describe somebody as being tough, right, you can use the word caliche, which is tough and hard like gravel, okay? So just by knowing just little simple nuances like that, and when I talked to the guys from the Hispanic guys from the Dominican Islands and from the island of the people from the Dominica, right? The Dominicans and the Puerto Ricans, and the Cubans, just how they pronounce their R's slightly different, or the letter S in their words, just by doing that and changing that when I talked to them was enough to build a tremendous amount of a bond, trust, and attraction with those people, right? So I highly recommend that, because a lot of times people that grow up in the region that they grow up in, they don't think it's important to be able to duplicate or replicate or repeat the accents and the intonations and the vocabulary that's used in other areas. For example, I'm living right now in Ho Chi Minh City, and we have a lot of people from Hanoi, from the north, that came down to live here in Ho Chi Minh City in the south. And it's really weird to them that you would want to learn how to speak like a North Vietnamese, okay? And the North Vietnamese don't see the importance of speaking the same accent or dialect as the South Vietnamese, and the South Vietnamese, where I come from, don't see the need or the importance of speaking the northern dialect or the northern accent like the North Vietnamese. And so when you come here to Ho Chi Minh City, right, and you learn to speak Vietnamese, the northern people are very, very distinct. Like, there's no hiding it. Like, they don't even try to speak like a southern person, and the people from the south, right, have no wish or no desire to speak like a northern person either. And one of the things that my family noticed is that when I came back to Vietnam, they couldn't figure out how I was able to make friends and connect with the northern Vietnamese so quick. And they're like, like you're making friends very quick here. I noticed my mom saying, like, how are you making friends so quick? You just got back to Vietnam in 1 or 2 or 3 months, and you're making friends with a lot of people already. And one of the things that I was doing was that when I spoke to a North Vietnamese person, I would make an attempt or a valid effort to speak in their accent or use words and vocabulary that I knew was part of their accent and part of their vocabulary in the North, right? And sometimes my family, my own family, my mom, my brother, and everybody would ask me, like, why are you using those words for? Only Northern Vietnamese people speak that. And I'm like, that's my point. I'm talking to a Northern Vietnamese person. I want to use the same accent. I want to use the same vocabulary as they do. And my family thought that was just nuts, okay? But by doing that, I was able to create trust and build up a network very, very quickly in Vietnam, okay? The last thing I want to talk about is different talents, okay? So we have people that have talents going this way, talents going that way, and everything. And one of the things that I found in making life-changing profits over the years was being able to connect and create friendships with people that have just different talents. Like, I thought that when I grew up, if I liked to be an artist, I wanted all my friends to be artists. If I was a personal trainer, I wanted all my friends to work out, be into sports, be athletic, and be into personal training, and be a gym rats. But what I've learned is that by doing that, I narrow my field. I narrow the type of people that can help me and surround me, that I need to surround me with, okay? So nowadays, I try to make sure that even though I'm in the cryptocurrency space, I still visit art galleries. I still visit places where they practice mixed martial arts. I still want to connect with other people that has nothing to do with crypto, that's completely outside my realm and my niche or my industry, okay? Now, the reason why is because the problems that I run into life, right? If you notice everything that I talk about, right? Being able to connect with rich people, poor people, high education people, low education people, people who have a lot of experience, people who work towards their goals, people who have ethics, different regions of the country, the world, people with different talents. The reason why I'm sharing all this with you guys is that when I was growing up, I was taught to hang around just a very small, specific type of people in my field or in my niche, or who have my goals and my desires. Like, it wasn't a good thing to have people of different variety of cultures, variety of talents, a variety of languages, and things like that. And I've learned now that, people say that, Ty, you did an amazing job. You got out of prison, in your mid-30s, and you're able to retire as a millionaire by the time you're in your mid-40s, right? I believe that I could have shaved off another 2, 3, 4 years if I would have done this sooner in my life. If I would have done this sooner, especially this one, if I would have started listening to people with experience in trading and investing, I would have gotten here to where I'm at today. I believe that I could have done it in like 3 or 4 years earlier. I wouldn't have to waste a whole 10 years of my life trying to do that, okay? So I'm sharing this with you guys. If you guys just be able to do this, right, or parts of it, or even half of it, and start doing it towards your life, right? If you are when you finish watching this video, right, if you are here, right, in richness, right, see if you can find somebody that's a notch above you or 2 or 3 notch above you and make friends with them. If you're here, right, I'm sure you have friends that are here and here already. I want you to jump down and try to find some people down here to connect with, right? Now, if you're down here, if you're poor, right, I invite you to connect with people that's 2 or 3 notches above you. The problem with you being poor, it's easier for a rich person to connect down here, in my opinion. The poor people, in their mindset, they just don't believe that it can happen, that a rich person would want to hang out with them or associate with them or be their friend. So if you're in that situation, if you're here, I recommend you try to make friends and find people that are 2 or 3 notches above you, okay? As far as education goes, if you're here, try to find friends that are 2 or 3 notches above you and get to know them and start slowly moving up, right? If you're up here, try to make friends and talk in the manner of people down here so that you can connect with more people, okay? Remember, guys, the more variety of people that you have in your life, in your network, and in your social network, the more possibilities, the more opportunities, and the more opportunity you have to make life-changing profits, okay? If you are here, right, now certain things you don't want to go and hang out with those people. Like, for example, if you have high ethics of being in business, obviously you don't want to waste time going around and hang out with people of low ethics and low morals, okay? Now, if you are here and you're from the East Coast of your country, I would highly recommend you connect with people from the West Coast, from the South, from the North, in the region that you live. Now, if you're not able to travel around the country, look in your neighborhood. Look in your neighborhood. You know, if you live here, connect with some of the people that's 2 or 3 blocks down, 2 or 3 streets down your neighborhood, on this side, on that side, and on that side, so that you connect with more people. The same thing with talents, right? If you are an artist, that's more right brain activity. Go find friends that are using left brain activities, such as engineers, such as doctors, okay, such as lawyers, right? Such as accountants. If you're an accountant, a lawyer, doctor, go and make friends with people that use the other side of their brain, okay? The free thinkers, the artists, the musicians, the actors, the actresses, the entrepreneurs, people like that, okay? So that you have a variety, just like we have a portfolio of different cryptos in our portfolio, right? We also need to have a portfolio of different people, of different talents, of different ideas, of different ways of thinking, of different cultures inside our portfolio, our social network, social portfolio of people that we have in our lives, okay? So I'm sharing this with you guys because if you do this, right, it will significantly increase your chances of making life-changing money in your life, okay? As far as getting a job in your career goes, like when I came out of prison in my mid-30s, every job that I got was from my network, from the people that I did all this stuff with, that I connected with, right? I never put in no resumes. The only time I put in a resume was after I got hired already, and for the HR, the human resources purposes, just to show that they did their job, right? They would have me submit a resume and an application, all that stuff, after I was already working there, okay? Most of the time, I connected with my friends, I call them out, and my friends of higher education, lower education, of rich, poor, different goals, different regions, different talents, within 3 phone calls in about 3 days, I would have me a new job. I had never had to show my college degree. I never had to do any of that, okay? So this is how important it is to build a strong and diverse social network portfolio of friends. And if you do that, you will be on your way to making life-changing profits and life-changing money. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you guys are serious about learning more about trading and investing in cryptocurrencies, I highly recommend that you guys go get a copy of the cryptocurrency investing blueprint that we have. In that blueprint, we share everything that we have done since we got into crypto in 2012, 2013, all the way up until the present time, that helped us become millionaires and retire early. If you want to fast track and shorten, your journey to becoming a successful crypto trader or investor, I highly recommend you go to www.cryptocurrency.market/blueprint and get you a copy of the blueprint today, so that it'll fast track you and get you there quicker, and then get you prepared for the upcoming bull market here. All right. Follow me on Twitter at HeyTaiZen, and I will look forward to seeing you guys in a future video. Thank you.